G'day folks, Mark here again. Got a bit of an update to bring you on our firearm situation and the new legislation over in Western Australia. Quite a few things that have actually changed in the process of it, I suppose, where you all know, or if you don't know, there has been the upper house of Parliament have gone through, there's been a motion for a review, so that's in place. That certainly sets some things in motion to where there is a review happening, which is there's submissions for, there's links below to put into submissions, but you should be putting in submissions as to your issues with the new firearms legislation and how it's affecting you. This is only for West Australians, but obviously ultimately can affect all of Australia, but the only people who can put in submissions are West Australians. There's also there's multiple legal attacks and things that are going on in their place, which are happening from all over the place. I think a lot of those we put on hold while the review is in process, because how can you attack a system that potentially changed in a short while? So that's going to be in limbo for a little bit, but it's still all there. It's good that it's all there. That's happening. There's a fair few politicians that are starting to more and more wake up to the problems of this legislation and how it's affecting West Australians, particularly firearms owners, but how it's affecting it. But now we've also had a statement from the Attorney General saying that the portal, which is the major, well, it's one of the major problems. There's lots of problems with the legislation, but the portal essentially doesn't work. Not essentially, well, it doesn't work in places. A lot of places where people can't get on the portal, a lot of properties that can't get on the portal for various reasons. But the Attorney General has said, okay, it's not ready to work, and it won't be ready to work until the middle of next year. And that's a government estimate as well, so that's probably way short of when it actually will be ready to work anyway. There is definitely people with the philosophy that was never designed to be ready to work, because the fact that it's not working is they'll get rid of firearms as well, which is happening, and so it's very relevant. But coming back to the situation, we have a review, we have the Attorney General that said this, that the system that they are using, they're forcing people to use, doesn't work. So how could you go forward in that situation? You would think that is basically, that's beyond incompetence, that's deliberately ignorant to, or forcing something to create something, which a system that isn't working to use it at all. How could you possibly use that in any government situation at all, in any other department? How could it actually be used? Unless, of course, it was deliberate. Okay, yes. But let's get into where we're at in that situation there. There's a few things that opens up. One is there is another E-petition, or a new E-petition. Quite different than the RAS setup. This one is at the upper house. This one has a definite negligent part of government in operation, and so there is reasons where really if it wasn't a big dumb animal of the government as it is in this situation, it should just be halted. But they probably need us to force it in some form or other. So this E-petition is one of the things down that road. There's also soon to be released or soon to be motioned a disallowance to try and stop it as well. But there's all this, I suppose I would reiterate what I've said many times now. We've got to be attacking from every level, from every place. Get together, work as a unit, work as the whole firearms and anyone else that can help, because we want to be able to help you too. This does have to be a coalition of all our, be it recreational, be it rights, be it all the bits and pieces. So farmers, fishers, firearms owners, you know, four-wheel drivers, you name it. People, it's about a government overreaching. So get together. But let's get back to this E-petition. This E-petition, links are down below. It is for a suspension of what's going on with the firearms. So basically to stop all the legislation being used at this moment to basically remove firearms or all the bits and pieces happening, to suspend it. It actually is to freeze some parts of it. I'm not quite sure on the difference between those type of things. So it actually freezes, I think that's the application of the laws onto firearms owners, all while the review is happening. So just to freeze it. And the last thing is also to ask the government during the review, or to come up with a review process of actually a full audit on what actually happened here. a full audit on the political processes and the legal processes that came about to create this legislation. So very, very powerful piece of, if we can get them to do that sort of stuff, it changes things quite dramatically. It is an e-petition, and I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, we had a 30,000 signatured e-petition and it didn't do anything. Very, very different circumstances. I suppose a couple of things I'd say there. Yes, very different circumstances. They didn't have the obvious neglection of duty, with the fact they're using a system that is proven by themselves, by the Attorney General, to be not working. So, and not ready to be working, but they're trying to use it. So there's a very big angle to go against that. We also have the admission by the government that this system isn't right because it needs review. So another big angle to go with that. But also this e-petition is to the upper house where there isn't a Labor majority. So it has a fair bit more traction to go with it. Now it needs signatures behind it. It's only West Australians, but all West Australians can sign this e-petition. So that means it's open to everyone. They're just looking for 10,000, which is not that huge a number. It's only a short space of time. We've got to share it as much as possible. That's why I'm sharing it here. But it is another one of those spears we're going to throw back at the government that's really important to get on board with. So share it all you can. All the stuff's down below. Once again, go through that. You can do it on your phone. It's a straightforward process. It is an e-petition, but it is targeting that side of things. So very much, and what I would say on the people who say, like I said, the e-petition didn't work, the other side last time, this is very different, but it's one of the multiple attacks that are happening at the moment. This isn't, and we've got to stop doing this. Oh, we'll just do this and it'll fix it, and put all our hopes in that. Pull our eggs in that basket, and then that is terrible, so that doesn't work. There's some people that are giving up through this process. There has to be multiple things to do this in lots of fashions, and there's lots to come. Even if we get a bit pushed back till we win a little bit, we've got to keep going with this. This is a lot more important than what it just seems to be at this moment. So e-petition, go through and do that. So very, very, very relevant on that side of things. I suppose the other thing I want to say is it moves into this same grey area we're running into at the moment, where people are asking, what should I do? You have people who are surrendering firearms because they see no other alternative. A lot of it attached to the portal. And we get to suspend things, there's going to be even more of a grey area. And what I'd ask is for West Aussies, for you guys to be a little braver. I suppose I view it, and I know it's a harsh thing to say, but you view it through the situation, which I'm talking to more and more people and finding out where they really sit, is they're surrendering their firearms because they feel they have to, because they're not licensed anymore, and the government has said you're going to have to surrender them, but they're in this situation here, and if they don't, then they will lose their firearms. So there's a little bit of I don't really see you gain what you're doing here. If you don't surrender firearms, then the penalty is going to be that you lose your firearms. Now check your situation, and what I have been advised and make sense of the situation is that if something like the portal is your problem, you can't get onto it, or the property that you shoot on can't get onto it, then or for whatever reason they can't get so that's the bit that's blocking you. So in other words, the portal is blocking you. In that situation there, if you can get in a letter from that property that says you have permission for that property to shoot, a signed letter, just a normal old signed letter, and you've done everything else, you've got all the other paperwork you need, so you've got all the bits and pieces previously from your old license, wherever that process is, you got the paper, so all the actual ingredients you've got, it's just the portal that's an issue. If you get that paperwork and you send it in or you take it in to the firearms branch, and from what I'm gathering, people are saying, the firearms branch are saying, oh, well, I don't know if this will do, we'll see how it goes, but I don't know it'll do, and then people are left in limbo up to where their firearms license is due. And in places there, people are actually handing in their firearms because they think they're illegal right then. They don't know, they haven't got any answers, they can't get any answers, so they're desperate, they've been persecuted enough and will just give up. I would say in that situation there, if you've done all the rest of those bits and pieces, then, well, I suppose I can't say I would say, I can't legally advise you. What I've spoken to people about, and what there definitely is a, well, yes, that makes sense sort of conversation, is that if you've done everything else, so you've done the law, you've proven that you have a place to shoot, you've proven all these other bits and pieces, then you give them the paperwork, they say nothing, you sit still. If you surrender your firearms at that time, then that was your decision, albeit under duress. And listen, maybe we can use that later on as a legal case, which is there's something else I'm coming up to. But realistically, if they seize the firearms in that situation, and I'm not saying create a siege or anything like that, but then they order you, even by email, they order you where there is signatures or there is people ordering you to handle in your firearms, then that's, I'm not encouraging you to break the law, but I am encouraging you not to do things prior to having to. The you surrender them willingly of your thoughts, of your fruition, then you are the one that ultimately, that's a lot harder to fight in a legal situation. They order you to do that, that's their decision. My feelings is they're not going to order it because their system isn't working, and they know that. That what they're leaving open is that if you do it, that's your decision, they've got the firearms. If they do it, that puts them legally vulnerable. That's my honest thoughts on it. That's what I've certainly heard a fair few times. It's your decision ultimately. I'm not encouraging you to break the law, but I am encouraging you to be a little stauncher about how the law is being written to you, or you're being treated by the law. So the last bit I want to go through is something that I want to do. Well, I've thought of this and I wanted to speak to everyone about it. I haven't found any pushback on it, but that is actually stepping back and looking at where we're at with the government. We actually have a government department that is operating inappropriately. They have a system that isn't working. They have managed to force through their laws, which is another whole conversation, which is all part of this as well, with all sorts of basically sleight of hand and all sorts of manipulating to get these laws through. So there's a big problem there, which is also just as relevant. But right now we have admission by the government that both through their review saying that the laws aren't ready to go. They have the Attorney General saying the portal isn't ready to go, won't be ready to go for over the point of the transitional period. So over the middle of next year, it won't be going, and they are still actioning things right now. So that, when you actually step back, I don't know why I haven't heard it, don't know why it hasn't been mentioned, but that when you step back and look at our legal system or our government and what will you say, the people who check the checks and balances, the right process is the state ombudsman. That's who we're supposed to be talking to. So that's where you put in a complaint about a department that isn't functioning properly. Its administration services aren't behaving properly. That's where you're supposed to do it. If it's criminal, then you go to the CCC. So if it's a criminal situation or crime situation where they're doing the wrong thing that level, which some could argue they are, but then it goes to the CCC. But the process we're at now, from my reading of it all, is it's the state ombudsman. So the right process to do that, and I'll put a process down below as well, so we'll go through the ombudsman process, is you have to complain, you have to write in and complain to the police. There's a link down there, but it's the complaints department of the police essentially. Go through and explain what you're unhappy about and what you'd like a resolution to. That includes you guys who have surrendered firearms way cheaper than you wanted to. It's got to be within 12 months, but if you surrendered firearms and you're not happy with the payment, we're just taking it because we've got to, that's just because there's no choices. Well, there is a choice. You can write in and say, this is what happened. I'm not happy with how much I was paid for this firearm. This firearm was worth this amount. I would like reimbursement for the amount that I should have been reimbursed. And you can also tack on there, I had to also get rid of my reloading gear and my ammo. The government made that decision. Doesn't mean that the correct decision is the one they made and you were out of pocket. So you can directly make that complaint. Or probably what they're doing with everyone else is they won't answer. It does take a little while. There's 4 to 6 weeks is what the Ombudsman's office said it would take. But if you don't get a response, then you can take that complaint and you send it to the Ombudsman. So that is the the police department of that. It'll go through that process, but then you have all that. You have to record it all, record all the bits and pieces, so you've got everything done. And I suppose in every step through this process, if just trying to get onto the portal and trying to, whatever you do, record it in triplicate, make sure people have got it, make sure you've got records of it, make sure you've got backups of everything, so you have all the records. This will matter. The way things are going, this is all going to matter. As we roll further forward, then the legal system will be able to be engaged, unless the government really pull on the reins and maybe even unsaddle that one and saddle up another one. They're heading down the path where, as long as we're organised enough, which the group's coming, and you are the group, so we're just building the machine for you to ride on it, but we get organised and do this properly, then all this matters. So record everything, all that sort of stuff. But with the Ombudsman, you do that and go through that process. Now there's people going to say, oh, but they'll just do the same thing. There's another government department that just ignore you. No, well, here's an angle which I see in that side of it. Maybe they will. Maybe they will do that. It would be completely inappropriate. They're outside of their purview to do that side of things. They are supposed to come up with a resolution. That's what their job is. And they can engage court processes, all sorts of things. Listen, I don't know the proper stuff. I'm, once again, not a lawyer. But even if we get a flat no response in that situation, if we've recorded it all, we've tallied it all, and we've got 5, 10, 20, 30, 40,000 people that have not just been let down by the police department, but also let down by the Ombudsman's department, that stuff we can turn into news. That stuff, I can't see how we can't turn it into news. If they're ignoring that much of the population, that would be a real error. But this is all about us being tactical, at least as tactical as them, and us working together. So collaboration, all getting together. Let's not, I did this or you did that, or that's no good, or that's not going to work. Let's work this fight. Let's work this problem and make it work. So 3 things in that sort of stuff. There's the E-petition, really important to get onto and do that side of things there. Really important to do that and make it happen. The Ombudsman angle is a pretty serious thing, which I think we can, if we work it, we can turn it into something, because there are people, thousands of people with genuine complaints, and it goes right to, I didn't get the money I should have for the firearm I handed in. I handed a $2,500 firearm in, they gave me $400. I'm not happy with that. Or, like I said, reloading gear. These are all things that actually happened, that we went through, that we felt there was no recourse, but there is a place to argue. And then the other side of things is, just think about it. Before you surrender, before you just give it up and make it your fault because you made that decision, and I know it's hard, I know the pressure people are under, but at least have a chat about your mates about it, that sort of stuff. Waiting for them to actually request the seizure of your firearms is the most I'm asking for. But once they have a letter that says that, then they made that decision, not you. Anyway, guys, that's my video for today. There's a lot more I could say on it. The group, like I said, it's coming. It frustrates me how long it's taking. We're in the government processes there as well, but doing it properly, doing it so it is a properly, officially built organisation for you guys to come and be a part of. And that's all over Australia, that one there. The E-petition, the Ombudsman is only Western Australia, so you only people can get involved with this. But let's all get together and work this problem, guys. Thanks for checking in. We'll catch you next time.